Okay, can y'all hear me now? Let's go. We're going live for a second time because the last one you guys said you can hear me, and I want to make sure that you get all the good stuff. So we're just going to redo this. I'm committed to getting this, stream up and live for you all because I really think this is valuable information. So welcome to the Secure the Bag Book Club. Yeah, give me a thumbs up, give me a shout in the chat if you can hear me. Oh my gosh. We're gonna give it another go. I'm gonna go back to the beginning of my notes, so hopefully you guys can hear me and will obviously see me, but hear me, all that good stuff. I'm gonna do a little bit with my lighting too, so give me just a second while I wait for everyone to come back from the other stream. Okay. Hoping you guys can hear, see all the good stuff. Okay, got some light going here. That's good. I want to make sure everybody gets back on the stream before we continue. Let's see. Okay, I hope you can see me. I hope you can hear me. Okay, I gave it a couple of minutes, so let's go ahead and get back into what we were discussing, which was the book of the month, January's book, which is Invested: How I Learned to Master My Mind, My Fears, and My Money to Achieve Financial Freedom and Live a More Authentic Life with a Little Help from Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and My Dad by Danielle Town and Phil Town. I love how this book is so new to me that I even still have the sticker from the used bookstore that I found in them. Anyways, very on brand to buy a book from the used bookstore. Hello. Okay. Yes. So, a couple of things. First thing I want to mention that I did mention in the last stream, which is that, full disclaimer, I am not a financial expert. I am merely a facilitator of this group of virtual meetups. We are learning together, and this is not financial advice. This is merely for educational purposes. So there you go. Yes. So, fears. What are they, right? What are your fears when it comes to investing, specifically investing in the stock market, right? Is it the number crunching and you're just like, look, I glaze over when you talk about numbers. I don't really know what you mean by all these financial statements and what this number means versus that number, and what are all these ticker numbers that are on the the screen when I watch MSNBC and all that kind of stuff. What is your fear, right? Is it that you're just like, I never feel like I can know enough, right? The book mentions it as the asymmetry of information. That's what it's called, the asymmetry of information. So is it that? Is it just that you're just like, I probably could grasp it if I had the time, but I don't, what is your fear? Is it just that you're just like, listen, I'm, conservative. I am risk averse. I don't want to lose money. And if I can guarantee that I don't lose money, then that's what I'm going to do. So speaking of that, they mentioned the downfall, the downside, of inflation when it comes to when you're hoarding your money. So you're just saving it under your mattress, you're saving it in a little savings account somewhere, and you're just like, yeah, that's how I'm going to get to financial freedom. And they're like, what about inflation, right? And on page 22, it gave a fantastic definition of inflation, which I'm going to read out. It says inflation means that the purchasing power of your money goes down because, to simplify it, the government wants people to have jobs, so they encourage borrowing. And with more money floating around, consumers buy more stuff. And over time, the increased demand makes prices rise. Additionally, because companies try to meet the increased demand, they raise wages or create new jobs, so the economy grows. That also leads to higher consumption, which leads to more demand, higher wages, more jobs, and more consumption. It's called the virtuous cycle of inflation. Okay, that's great and all, but I still feel more comfortable holding on to my money. So what then? Maybe what I can do is abdicate, which she mentions a lot in chapter 1 and 2. She's like, listen, I just want to give it to somebody else. And so what ends up happening is you have a middleman, right? That's doing all the buying and researching and figuring out which is the best buy and all that good stuff when it comes to stocks. Okay, so far so good. But then you have fees. Fees eat up at your returns. And on page 40, yes, she talks about how her friend is like, girl, you don't have enough money. You do not have enough money to afford to abdicate, right? Because one, my fees or my investing services start at you have to have at least $250,000 to invest in order to handle the fee structure, right? And then she's like, listen, realistically, you want to have like 500,000, and some places you need to have 3 million. The author Danielle is like, I don't have that, so now what? So yeah. And then it talked about how like the fees are actually not even performance fees. It's not like, oh, you do well, so we're going to pay you a fee for, thanks for, good job or whatever. It's a service fee. So like whether they do a good job or not, they still get their cut, and you are lost out on, money that you could have, handled yourself. So I was like, well, okay, so much for abdication. So she made a good point. I don't know. Anyway, then I wanted to turn your attention back to page 12 and 13, where it mentions the strategy that we're ultimately trying to build upon, right? So first, it says value investing is an investment strategy to buy stocks based on financial fundamentals at prices below their value. And then it mentions, page 13, rule number 1, which is don't lose money. Simple enough, and I think we can all agree that we like rule number 1. Then rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. All right, I'm on board. Okay, so then her dad basically has this particular strategy where he's like, okay, listen, this is what you do. You buy a wonderful company when it is a bargain, and only when you are certain that it will be worth more 10 years from now than it is today. Then wait, sometimes for years, as the company does what wonderful companies do, becomes more valuable over time. Be so confident that you now own a great company that even if the stock price, goes down, you don't worry and you stay with it until it goes back up, and ideally you never sell. That's how you don't lose money. That's rule number 1, investing. All right, so far so great. For those that are tuning live, this is our second stream. Let me know if you guys can hear me this time around, because the first stream, someone mentioned that it was Evelyn, I think, that mentioned that you couldn't hear me. So I want to make sure that we're good on the technical difficulties from the last stream. But we're going to re-record, and it's going to be great. There you go. Okay, moving on. It mentioned on page 53, this is chapter 2, We covered chapters 1 through 3 so far on the schedule, which you can go to whatbrooksbent.com /events, and that is where you'll find the reading schedule, and also a link to the Spotify playlist where you can listen to the audiobook if you have the premium level of membership on Spotify. The link is in the description. Well, will be in the description. So there you go. On page 53, third paragraph down, mention that there are certain benefits of learning about investing. And one of the benefits is that, you can evaluate deals better. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the purpose of the Secure the Bag book club, right? This is why we're educating ourselves about, how we evaluate what is a good investment, whether it be real estate, whether it be intellectual property, whether it be art, whether it be stocks, all that good stuff. You want to know, what you're getting into. And so that is why we need to make sure that we are educating ourselves, and we're using books like this to do it. So if you're tuning in later, the book is Invested, and it is by Danielle and Phil Town. Okay, so yes, let's see, what other things can I share? On what is this, page 61, it talked about the 4 levels of mastery. And this is where I want y'all in the comments to tell me what are y'all thinking about as far as where you are on your level of mastery when it comes to stocks, right? The first level is unconscious incompetence. This is where you I don't know, and I don't care that I don't know, because I don't know. And it's not in your, consciousness that you are ignorant. The second level is conscious incompetence, where you essentially are like, okay, I know I don't know, but I still don't know. So what of it? I'm trying to get my focus to stay still. There we go. And the third level of mastery is conscious competence, right? That's when you know what you need to know, and if you stay focused and conscious about what you're doing, you can do it well. And then the fourth level of mastery is unconscious competence. This is where you're like an athlete, like muscle memory. You're in the zone. You just do it because you know what you're doing, and you do it well regardless, right? You don't need to really key in and think about it, right? So yeah, so I'm curious leave in the comments how you feel about your level of mastery. The last 2 things that I wanted to talk about, and this is going to be a shorter broadcast because this is the second go around and I am a well-oiled machine at this point. No, but seriously, I thought this was a really good start to the journey that we'll be on, because it talked about, different vocabulary, like things like inflation, abdication, all those kinds of things, value investing, but it also talked in the later part of chapter 3 about feel good things like creating an investing space, which I'll give you guys a tour on the next stream next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to give you a tour of my investing space, and it's going to be awesome. And in a word, velvet. Okay. And then the second thing she mentioned was the list of missions that she has, right? Where she talks about how you can vote for a mission with your money. We do this unconsciously all the time, or consciously sometimes, all the time, where we're like, you know what? I know it's more expensive, but I'm going to buy organic because they treat the animals better, or they treat the earth better. I know that my retirement funds may not grow as exponentially if I just, let whomever, or buy, whatever, hot stock there is. But maybe I don't want to invest in, gun companies, or I don't want to invest in private prisons, or I don't want to invest in companies that don't have any women in leadership, or all those kinds of things that you can think about when it comes to your investing journey. That's your list of missions. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was on page 79. I'm going to read it verbatim because I don't want to get it wrong. But the story of a company is the heading, right? And it talked about, or so Phil mentions that he has this thing called a story system, right? And he goes like this. It starts with how he found the business and if other investors are buying it. Then comes an understanding the business, in particular, what protects it against competition, who runs it, and what is its value. He then describes the industry, its competition, and why this business has a durable competitive advantage backed up with compelling historical consistency of performance and a solid management team. So far, so great, right? The story goes on to state the value of the business, the price at which he would buy the business, the buy price, and what event put this business on sale. On sale, on sale, on sale, along with how long it might take the business to recover. Finally, he summarizes with 3 great reasons to buy the company. Awesome, 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 right? This is where we want to get to, right? It's understanding value investing. It's doing rule number 1, investing, and it is knowing the story of a company and why we want to buy into it for those very reasons. And those variables can shift depending on what kind of company we're looking at, what industry, what the market is doing, how it's responding to what the company is doing, and all that good stuff. And finally, there was one page that I wanted to go back to, which was page 58. In chapter 2, it talked about the 4 mathematical components to achieving financial freedom. This, along with, what page was that? Page 42 and 43. Go back to page 42 and 43, where it talked about mutual funds, market index funds, exchange traded funds, and robo-advisors. It gave some great definitions that I think you'll want in your, just in the back of your mind as we're discussing these topics, but more importantly, so that you can have these conversations and just feel, confident within yourself when you're having a conversation about stocks. You can't forget about those kinds of vocabulary words. So 42, 43, and then page 58, where it talks about the mathematical components to achieving financial freedom. They are very short list, but very quick. 1, minimum annual spending. 2, years remaining to invest. 3, money to invest. And 4, required rate of return on the investments. And then it goes on for like a few paragraphs to talk about how those things can be manipulated or not. So yes, yay, you can hear me now. Woo! Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you for being down for the cause. And this recording is going to be up. I'm going to keep it up. It's going to be on the playlist so that you can watch it back, because I know that everybody missed, most of it as we were trying to figure out our technical difficulties. So wonderful. Okay. So your homework for this stream, I want you to think about what your investing space is going to look like. And I'm going to show y'all mine in the next stream. But it's the things that will remind you of why you're doing this, right? Whether it's pictures of loved ones, whether it's, a trinket from your travels and you're like, I want to be able to travel more. Let me, put this in my box so it'll inspire me to invest. Let's see, what else? Yes, so get your investing space together. She talked about the investing space in chapter 3. March voting for a mission with my money. And it's on page 66. So yes, go back. I feel like that's just like the fun part of this, where it's like, okay, I may be scared of the numbers, I may be like intimidated by the entire concept, but I sure can decorate a little box where, I put all my, my little notebook, my little pen, my little, whatever. And get ready to be in for the ride of your life that is going to change your life, because I really do believe that these books that we cover are going to change your life for the better, and is going to prepare us for those you know prime opportunities to make money. Basically make money. All right, so thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and set up all the things on the back end so that the and look, and just then my light goes out, but the details about the Spotify playlist, where you can listen to the audiobooks of the past and current books that we are covering, the website link for the schedule, and a link to buy the book on, I'm sure I'll just put Amazon, but yeah. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember to tell the others. Bye.